Eastern Europe. This has some of the most interesting countries in European Universalis 4. Poland comes to mind as probably the most powerful as well, considering it always has Lithuania by its side. What if I told you though, that Eastern Europe is very inaccurate in EU4? In fact, the historical landscape of 1444 is very different to what you see on the EU4 map. Because of the Battle of Varna just before the EU4 start date, it's safe to say that Eastern Europe is in absolute chaos, considering the Polish king, Ladislaus III, was killed by the Ottoman Sultan. Poland is also one of the larger countries that watch our channel, so it's no surprise why it's played a lot in EU4. Now in this video, I want to mainly focus on the Poland-Lithuania area and the Baltics. I've already done a video on the Balkans, so you can check that out after this video if you desire to know more about Eastern Europe. Before we get into this video though, I need to give you a warning. There may be some border gore, so you might have to avert your eyes if it's too much. We've been doing these map videos for a while now, and I'm personally so dedicated that if we get 100,000 subscribers, I will personally go to Ulm in real life and check if it's really accurate in game. The locals might be a bit terrified though. Right, let's get into the video. I want to start off looking at the Teutonic Order and what exactly is inaccurate about it. In EU4, the nation-state of the Teutonic Order looks like a unified state. Now some stuff shown in EU4 is accurate. The leader is indeed Conrad, and the capital did have a very prestigious fort, but on the whole, the depiction of the Teutonic Order is inaccurate if we go into depth. Firstly, the Teutonic Order was subject to papal state authority, and the Catholic Church made 4 autonomous bishoprics within the Teutonic Order. The Church therefore, in a sense, controlled these territories, and the bishops were the leaders of the land. We can see them on this map here. These bishoprics were known as the Bishopric of Chelmno, the Bishopric of Pomerania, the Bishopric of Warmia, and the Bishopric of Sambia. We touched upon a similar situation with the Bishopric of Durham in England. Now the majority of these bishoprics, even though are shown on this map as semi-independent, on the whole shouldn't be shown in EU4. The bishoprics of Colm, Pomerania, and Samland were simultaneously members of the Teutonic Order since the 1280s, so it's really so much simpler not acknowledging these bishoprics at all. However, the Bishopric of Warmia is a completely different story, and is the biggest one out of the 4. The bishops of Warmia throughout the 14th and 13th century generally defended their privileges, and tried to put down all attempts to cut the autonomy they enjoyed. After the Battle of Grunwald in 1410, where the Teutonic Order were heavily defeated, Warmia pledged loyalty to the Polish crown, so they weren't annihilated by them. Also, 4 years before the start date of EU4 in 1440, most of the nobility and towns of Warmia joined the anti-Teutonic Prussian Confederation. Therefore, at the start date of EU4, these lamb-loving people should be acknowledged and have a province on the EU4 map. So what exactly happened to them? In 1454, the Teutonic Order was attacked by the Polish king, and so they became subjects to the Polish crown. This war-loving bishopric did, however, put up a fight for independence against the Polish crown, which was known as the War of Priests. You can just imagine priests chucking holy books at each other. They did, however, lose, and were annexed by Poland in 1479. The fact that this bishopric was autonomous, and has an interesting history around the start date of EU4, makes me think they should be added into the game. What do you guys think though? I've also already done a video about the Teutonic Order in more detail, so you can check that out after this video, if you're interested in finding out more about this nation. I now want to move on to the Livonian Order, which is represented as a unified country, and there is also the city of Riga right in the centre as its own clerical state in EU4. Yet again, however, this isn't exactly accurate to the reality of 1444, and similar to the Teutonic Order, there was also bishoprics. After the Battle of Grunwald, the Livonian Order became a confederation. On this map, you can see the Livonian Order itself represented as white and its 6 other members. The Bishopric of Courland, the Bishopric of Osselrijk, the Bishopric of Dorpat, the city of Riga, the Bishopric of Revel, and finally the Archbishopric of Riga. The setup, however, was completely different to the Teutonic Order, and these bishoprics of the Confederation were not vassals, but members, and they had a high amount of autonomy, which meant they commonly conflicted with the others. An agreement was eventually signed with all representatives of the Confederation being there in 1435. Now how could this historical reality be incorporated into EU4 to make the game more accurate and fun? Perhaps there could be some sort of shogunate system within the Livonian Order, and you add all these members within it. I personally believe Revel is far too small to be added into EU4. The Archbishopric of Riga and the City of Riga would also have to have a name change. What do you guys think though? Should these places be added into EU4, or do you think it's best to just leave it? Let's now shift down to Poland and talk about a few inaccuracies in game there. The big thing in game is Mazovia, which is shown as a unified state. But the Duchy of Mazovia doesn't exist in this time and is a little early. In fact, at 1444, this place has two different duchies. This map represents the historical reality, and we have the Duchy of Plock in yellow and the Duchy of Warsaw in orange. Now granted, it's confusing, just look at this timeline, but regardless, this probably should be changed, and the Duchy of Warsaw even has its own leader, Boleslaw IV, who we know actually quite a lot about, and is a key player in the Polish succession after the Battle of Varna. Boleslaw supported the Lithuanian king, Casimir IV. Moving down Poland, there's not really much I would change, but there are some interesting things to note, such as the Spic cities in Hungary that were lent to Poland, but they are simply too irrelevant in game. Poland is the one region that's probably just fine how it is, and other regions probably need to be prioritised. Finally, we're going to talk about Lithuania, which let's just say is a little confusing, and probably the least accurate out of all the regions. Lithuania is not a unified state, and in fact has absolutely tons of vassals. Now sadly, very limited information is known about these duchies, but we know a lot of them had autonomy. The Polish king Casimir even acknowledged the Duchy of Samogita as having autonomy and allowing them to elect a leader. This duchy was one of the last regions to be Christianized, which happened in 1413. On this map, this gives you an indication of just how many vassals there were. Just picking out a few, Kiev is the largest of these, and originates from the Kievan Rus days. This place, however, would be annexed in 1471. Slutsky is also an outlier, and is one of these 12 principalities to exist for many centuries, until the fall of Poland-Lithuania, and it played a role in the Great Northern War. In 1454, Casimir, the King of Poland and the Grand Duke of Lithuania, gave the principalities of Risk and Novgorod-Seversky to Ivan Dmitrievich, who fled from Moscow. Ivan's son ended up giving these two principalities as vassals to Muscovy, which sparked a war between Muscovy and Lithuania, and saw the decline of Lithuania. I think I've spoken enough about Lithuania, and it would be good to get your guys' opinions on the region. Perhaps it's simpler for Paradox to just keep it how it is. Overall, what do you guys think though? Should anything I've mentioned be added into the game? We know Paradox isn't making any massive expansions with province changes, but perhaps one or two of these nations can be added in. I'm also aware that a lot of people want a Baltic update, and also want Lithuania to be given some flavour, so maybe some of this stuff could be added in a new update. A big shout out to Dodo Lulu Pepe for helping me make these videos, and if you're watching near the upload time, I'm streaming over at Twitch right now, trying to get the Baltic Crusader achievement. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye for now.